saved version because it's a hint at something I'm going to share later on.
And it's backward compatible with the previous version.
I want to welcome Derek Lee.
Hey, everyone.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Derek Lee. I'm a program manager on Logic Apps.
He's going to do some cool demos later on in our webcast. So hang out and look out for that towards the end of the webcast. So let's get going. We have a lot of stuff that we've done in the last couple weeks since we've had our last webcast. Our lab webcast was upside down, right down in Australia. So now we're back home. And
do we want to mention the other guy?
Which other guy? Oh, that guy. Our producer, our director.
Our producer, yes.
Our silent co-host.
In case you're wondering why there's somebody missing, he is in the room with us, but he's lost his voice. So he's type away. He's drinking honey, which if you tune in regularly, you'll understand what we mean by that. He's got that bear-shaped bowl.
All right, so let's get started. So for March, we're going to share with you a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So what's new? I might have to go through this a little quickly just because the list is so long. That's a great problem to have.
It is.
Header control. So in the designer now, you can, for example, in the HTTP request, you can now have a header control instead of a raw JSON box. And so you have name value pairs for doing your application types, et cetera, headers that you pass along to your HTTP request. So just a lot easier to use in the designer. Generate schema from sample. So now, if for the JSON parse action and the request trigger, you can put in a schema. But to put that schema in, you had to go figure out what the schema was, and you go to jasonschema.net, cut and paste, and put all that in there. So now, right in the designer, you can actually take your sample, put it in. There's a little button you'll press, and it comes up with a box. You put your sample definition in there, and then we'll generate the schema for you and place it in line. And then you can go tweak it to your heart's content. So now you don't have to leave the designer to go insert your schemas. Add new action from anywhere in the designer.
Yes.
I'm going to pause on that one for a second. Just let that, ooze out for people. So, for a long time, since the beginning of time, we didn't make it really obvious how you added an action in between other actions. So you could always go to code view and do it, and there was this magical drag drop that we never really told anybody about, where you could write your action at the end and drop it in the middle. But now we actually have the capability of adding an action in the middle of your workflow, and we'll show you a demo of that later. Very excited about that one. Table action, array to HTML CSV. This is another neat action that allows you to do a diary of your requests that come in. So for example, you get a tweet with a bunch of an array of tweets, which is a complex object. Now, before you would have to either pass it to a function to do some parsing on it or do some other ways of splitting it up. Now you can use that action to go ahead and essentially summarize the collection and convert it either into an HTML table or into comma-separated values, and then be able to handle that out. And maybe we'll have a demo of that too. Connection resource picker. We love our Azure resources. And one of the things we don't want you to do is have to leave the designer to go figure out my service bus connection string or my document DB or blob connection string. So right from the connection creation experience, you can now select your namespace or resource, and we will get the right credentials into your connection. And so now you can be even faster at creating logic apps because those connections are easier to create. Multi-part form data and form encoded. So this is really interesting because now it enables scenarios. For example, if you get a Twilio trigger that gives you form encoded data, before you would have to go and write some code to go parse that out. And now we give you the ability for the trigger understands that it's form encoded data, and we give you a couple of new expressions to go ahead and parse that out. So now in the logic app, we will actually break up that form encoded data, and you can access it like tokens in the rest of your logic app. Super convenient, and it's going to open up a lot of scenarios for other connectors as well. Terminate with succeed. So we have scenarios where people use terminate as a catch in their catch block, and they say, hey, even though I terminated, the logic app didn't fail, so I want to end the logic app with a succeeded state. So when they look at their status, everything looks okay and by design. Open Azure function from Designer. So we have great Azure function integration. We're just making it better. And so one of the things you can do now is that if you have an Azure function that you reference in your logic app, we'll give you a button to go ahead and open the function in the functions blade. So you can go ahead and edit it and come back right to the designer. So you don't have to go and hunt and peck for it anymore. And now we support HTTP trigger functions. Yay. So before we only supported webhooks, and now we support the HTTP trigger binding type. So now we've expanded the sets of functions that can be called from logic apps. But this is only half of the list.
Wait,
because there's more variables. We have finally released variables.
Yes.
Applause, applause.
Yeah.
Is there a virtual applause?
There's virtual.
There's a virtual
Should be,
applause.
yeah.
Okay. So now you can include variables in your logic app. You can, and this first release of variables, you can initialize a variable. Variables are global, so you can only initialize at the global scope. And then you can do an increment action. And later on, we're going to add, in our up and coming, I'll tell you what's coming up with variables. And then you can reference the variables with the @variable expression. So now you can at least initialize, increment, and reference the variable and start playing with that. And we'll give you more variable abilities later. Oh, very excited about this. This was a long time coming.
As are the viewers.
Yay. Multiple actions and do until. So yesterday, you can only have one action you do until. And now we've allowed you to have multiple actions you do until. So now your do until loop isn't really an extension of your action and having a condition on your action. Now it's really a scope. So you can have multiple actions in it and execute on that loop. Nested for each. So we supported multiple actions in for each about a month or so ago. Now, but we restricted the fact that you couldn't have a for each within a for each. So now you're able to have nested for each. So you can have nested arrays essentially and start dealing with them in your logic app without having to now cheat and call a child workflow or something like that to make it happen. For each supports 100,000 items. We've moved from 5K to 100K. So now you can have huge collections that's supported in your for each, and we can iterate over that monstrous collection. Version promotion. Yeah. Told you versioning was in here. So now you can go. We've added a new entry point in the portal so that you can look at your old versions, and every time you save your logic app, it has a version that's saved in our backend. That's always been there. We just never exposed it. So now you can actually go look at that list of versions, look at each of the logic apps, and then promote one of those versions to be the active version. So you can essentially roll back your version to whatever instance that you saved in the past. If you made a mistake and it was a bad thing in production, you can go roll right back to the version that was the last known good. That's cool. Date time filter for runs. So we had added we updated the management portal so that you had a much better resource blade experience, and we gave you a status filter that filtered across all of your runs for the filter. Now we've added a date time filter so you can do a before or after a certain date time, so you can now have a more concise set of runs that you want to look at. But there's more. Open nested logic app. So if you have a logic app that calls a child logic app, when you go to the monitoring view, you can now click on that child logic app and we'll open the monitoring view for that child logic app. You don't have to go find the run someplace for that different logic app. Super cool. And partner tile in OMS. Hey, John, why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so this is something you mentioned last time. So there's now in our B2B portal in OMS, there's now the ability to look at views by partner as well. So you can understand not just from the protocol, but also from the partner, see whether things are failing, succeeding, and drill into that and go all the way down to the messages themselves.
Cool. Is that it?
That's it?
I think that's it.
Wow.
Is that a lot for a month? But no, it's not it. Just kidding.
Not?
No, it's not it.
Oh,
That was a tease because we have Canada, oh Canada. So we now support Canada.
What's the next region?
The next region is going to be, I didn't put that in my next list, UK. That's going to be the next region.
Hey, I'll talk about that one.
You can wave your flag. For Kent, hey Kent, we're in Canada. Okay. But we're still not done, because this is only what's new in features, because we also have new connectors.
Yes.
I should change that. It's not all SaaS connectors, but they're connectors. And this list is really long.
Yeah, let's jump through it.
So Azure Data Lake, I'll talk more interesting about the first ones, and then zoom through the later ones. But Azure Data Lake, so now you can push all your data into a data lake in Azure, and more data interaction scenarios for Logic Apps. Azure Automation, you can call your runbooks from Logic Apps. So now you can think about more of these DevOps scenarios where we have the ARM connector and the automation connector and the VSTS connector. We're creating some really nice scenarios when you have all those things coming together. Azure Event Hub, this one is hot off the presses. Just yesterday it got released.
Yes.
And so it has both a trigger and an action for Event Hub. And so now you can start pumping out events through Event Hub and even consuming them.
Yeah, this was one of our biggest asks, right? People want this, so we're really excited to see what you guys do with this, and the great Logic apps you create with Event Hub is phenomenal. But and there's more coming with this. It's just like we just want to get something out as soon as we could. So let us know what you think.
Yeah, the list is not done because next, Oracle DB.
Yes,
I should have had like a drum roll for this one. It's a big one. That's really, for real enterprise integration scenarios, people have Oracle DB. So now on-prem, you can connect to your Oracle databases.
Yep.
Zendesk. So, we've had a lot of asks for Zendesk. We've now supported in Logic Apps. And now I'm going to start clicking through Bitbucket, Eventbrite, Pipedrive, Infusionsoft, Basecamp 2. Am I done? No. Intercom, FreshBooks. It goes on to the others. I couldn't fit it all on the left side. I usually just put it on the left side. So now it's FreshBooks, Linkit, WebMerge. Holy cow, how many connectors did we just add? Toodle-doo. So that's a lot of connectors.
There's applause for Toodle-doo.
Yeah, we've been busy. So this is really great stuff that we have done. Oh, and there's going to be PDF. It's a PDF converter that's used quite a bit in SharePoint. So we've been, our connector team, our team, the third-party guys, first-party guys, have been building connectors, and so we've had a really nice push on these connectors, and this rate's not stopping. We have over 120 different connectors in Logic Apps, and that list just continues to grow. So really excited about that. But the list isn't done yet, because not only do we have new connectors, we have new operations on connectors. One that we're really excited about, Azure Blob Trigger. So now you can trigger off of a new blob entry going into your container. FTP metadata only triggers. This was really helpful when, for example, if you had really big files in FTP, now you can just look at the metadata and then react to it. You can do more interesting claim check scenarios, etc., or decide whether you want to actually read the message or not based on the metadata that's in there. And SQL stored procs on-prem. So now, we've always supported stored procs for like SQL in the cloud, but now on-prem we also support calling stored procs through your on-prem portion of your connector. Now that's it.
Great.
So before we go on to the new stuff, a lot of new stuff coming. Let's do the demo.
Yep.
Go ahead, take it away, Derek.
Sounds good. So I'll be showing you a quick demo. I want to show off a few things. One is we have a new connector that will be available soon. It's the computer vision APIs. And in particular, I'm using the OCR capability to understand characters and text within an image. So here I have a pre-built Logic app. What I'm doing is I will be sending an image through an HTTP request. I will encode the image in the JSON body, send it off. Logic App will receive that and parse the image using this new connector. Then we'll be saving the image into a blob storage, and then we'll also add an entry to DocDB. So that's what I have pre-built. And let's say just how it works now. So I have the sample payload.
Oops. Switch. Did you only share your app, not your desktop?
Now we're looking at a big picture of
It
who
was.
this was.
That
It's
was
your uncle, right?
Okay, try again.
There you
There.
go.
Okay.
Right. So here I have a simple payload. I have ID, name, and my image encoded in base64.
everybody can
form.
tell what that is, right?
It's a very simple
know.
payload, right?
It's actually an image of an Amazon order that I've just copy and paste and processed. So you see this got processed, and let me show you what the payload looks like in run history. By the way, here you have the filter with start time.
Yes.
OCR connector will return you a quite complex JSON object that will tell you what characters are in the image and the relative position for those images, for those texts. Right? So it looks like that. I don't really care about that. I really just want to understand what tags are in there so I can put into my DocDB, enable me to search for the text for a given image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my Azure function.
What's
But
that?
instead, creating a new step at the bottom, I can just insert an action here. Let's say insert an action.
Be alive.
How cool is that? So choose an Azure function that I have already authored. It's pretty simple. It takes a JSON payload and just get rid of all the X and Y coordinates and return me an array of the text. So I will choose that. By the way, you can open your Azure functions here right within Logic Apps. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to parse the JSON response that I got from OCR connectors to it. And I will also update my DocDB action to pass in that response I got from the Azure function. Like so.
You get an extra quote there.
Extra code. There we go. So now I've saved it. Let's go back to Postman. Let's keep the image as is, but we'll tweak the name so that we don't save the same file twice. Takes a little bit of time because the image is pretty big. There we go. Let's go back to run history. So in run history, you see I pass in the JSON, and what I get back are just a list of text. And then I save that to my DocDB. The document looks like that. Pretty simple. It has all the content in an array, has the ID of the blob that returned me, and the path to that image in which I saved to Azure Blob. So that's the first one with OCR and insert. Let's take a look at the second logic app I have here. So pretty simple. I have a request trigger. Interesting thing here I want to mention is I'm doing a get instead of a post. So I can show this just using browser instead of Postman. And I'm using relative path for me to define the query that I want to send to DocDB. So I'm saying keyword, and I will include that when I request it. So here I have the DocDB query. I say, give me all the entries containing this keyword I'm telling you, and I'm responding. But instead of just responding the what I get back from DocDB, wouldn't be nice to present that in a nice table form. So now we have this create HTML table and create CSV table operation. What you do is you provide an array of object to it, and that's pretty simple. That's it. And the body, I say, give me the table as and use the body as the respond. So now I have that. Let's go back, grab the URL, and then we'll run it.
What, you're going to a web page?
Yes, I'm going into a web page. Let's see. Oops. Let's see what happened here. Oh, I forgot to pass in the query I want to do.
It worked, just not.
So here's my
You did that on purpose,
That's
right?
because I use my Amazon order as the image. So I'm going to say search for all the order that contains Amazon.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Right? I have the ID, so I can grab that file, and I also have the path for that image within Azure Blob. And that's my demo.
Wow, very cool.
Very cool.
That's
Browser
awesome.
based.
Yeah.
So that was really neat stuff.
We're working on more stuff.
We're
Are you
working on more
kidding
stuff.
me?
We're always busy, always busy. And this list isn't short either, but it's not as long as our coming up. And we want to be conscious of time, so I'll quickly go through this list. Variables. So we said we released the kind of the first click stop of variables. We have more actions on variables coming, so you can set, decrement, and append arrays on your variables. So look for that out coming really soon. Parallel designer support. So just like you saw the insert action, we're going to enable you to create parallels in the designers. Of course, it's enabled today, but you have to be a code view guru to go figure out how to make that happen. Now we'll enable it right as a first class capability in the designer. Function parameters. So functions will have Swagger. Swagger is loved by a designer, and you will get a great first class experience for functions in the designer. So you can pass parameters around. Select. So you saw that we're doing more data manipulation actions, and select will allow you to from an array essentially select the let's say you have an array of complex objects, and you want to instead of having an array of A, B, C, D, E, I only want an array of objects with A and B in it. So now you can do a select to only pull out those properties and construct a new array with that limited set of properties you care about. Join. So join gives you allows you to take an array and a join token, and then constructs a string that is comma separated or whatever separated you want with that join request. Retry monitoring. So today we have retries in the back end, but it's a little bit of a black box. You don't get to see the retries happening. So we're going to expose that in the monitoring view, so you get to see all the retries that have happened and the results and the time they took, so you can see why it may have taken longer than you expected. Expression tracing. Oh, this is super exciting. So now that you can create some pretty complex expressions, and so for example, you go down a condition path and you don't really know why you went down one path or the other because you don't see the evaluation of that expression. So now we're going to actually build out an expression tree for complex expressions, so you can see the values of the expression at each evaluation through the steps of the expression.
Nice.
That's gonna be cool. What's new in the management portal? So we have a blog for being able to find out what's happening, aka.ms logic apps update. And see, I'm learning. But now we're going to add it so that you don't have to go to that different web page. Right in the management portal, we'll have a selector, so you can go see what's new inside the management portal, and so you can just hang out more in our logic apps resource space. But that's not it. Export logic apps into Visual Studio. So in our next release of the Visual Studio tools for logic apps, we'll have an export button so that you can go browse your logic apps up in the cloud, export it, and then we'll create a package locally, so then you can open it up in your resource project and start manipulating that locally and then treating it as such. Yeah. Are we done? No. Because we have more connectors coming. So we have a service bus sessions. That's going to be awesome for those guys who know what sequential convoys are. We'll be able to support that scenario with service bus sessions. Azure Cognitive Vision. So we let the cat out of the bag for that one. So that one's about to be released. So that one's going to come out really, really soon. SQL Trigger. SQL Trigger is kind of in testing right now. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
So it's right around the corner. The connector team is kicking the tires on the SQL Trigger, so that should be coming out really soon. Oracle EBS, that's on the cusp as well. And we have a couple other ones: ProsperWorks, Benchmark Email, and INO Reader. But we always surprise you with some more in the next call down. So, wow, are we busy? We're busy. No, we're busier because.
Yes.
The next thing.
If you hadn't noticed, we're all wearing these incredible shirts that
oh, they don't see.
If they don't see. So if you guys are able to attend one of these boot camps, is happening on Saturday. I understand there are still some slots available. These guys have done an awesome job across, 17 countries, 17 venues, 12 countries to do this. I think there's over 700 people signed up for this, and you could get one of these shirts if you attend. I'm not sure how these guys are going to give these things away, but there's a huge amount of sessions going on at each location. Our MVPs, our partners, and other people in the community are really driving this and doing an awesome job. So if you're near one of these cities, I'd strongly encourage to kind of bang on these guys' doors and see if they have space to accommodate you. Come on. We're doing one here in Redmond as well. Jeff, and if he gets his voice back, hopefully we'll at least show up and look pretty in front of you all if he can't speak.
Me too.
And Kevin as well. Yeah, absolutely. Tom Cantor's running that one in Redmond here, or in the Seattle area. So please, come along and have some fun and learn some stuff about all these different
3 locations in the
integration
US.
products. Yes.
Chicago, New York, and Seattle.
Yeah. Great website. Go to globalintegrationbootcamp.com and take a look.
But John's going to be busy too.
That's not it. Yeah, so I'm going to miss the boot camp, which I feel terrible about. But I will be in Europe next week, so I'll be. It's not Amsterdam. That's interesting.
Oh,
so
I got that from the site. That's true.
You got the right. No, you haven't got the right date. That's funny. So it's actually I'll be in Birmingham Monday and Tuesday next week at the Tech Summit in the NEC in Birmingham, and then I'll be in Copenhagen on the Thursday and Friday talking about Logic Apps.
They got a bug in their website.
I'm not sure how that happened, but yeah. So not Amsterdam, but the UK, Birmingham, and Denmark, Copenhagen next week.
Excellent. You're gonna be busy.
I am. We're all busy.
Yes. As always, reach out to us. We always, you can look at our blog, look at our updates. If you have a new feature you want to add to our backlog, Logic Apps Wish, and as always, we're here for you. So that's it. Any last bits?
Only other question is on error handling and retry policies and what's happening there, if anything's happening there.
Error handling. So
just like even some of it's like what's there today.
Yeah. So there's a couple things. So we have a retry policy that you can configure yourself on any given action, so that we have a default retry policy that retries 4 times every 20 seconds by default, but you can go ahead and configure that, either turn it off so it only doesn't retry at all, will just fail fast, or configure it so you can change the number of times or the amount of time it waits between retries. We have, if you're the code view guru, the ability to have exception handling, so you can do a retry after failed in your code view, and then you can essentially handle any failures of an action or even within a scope, and then handle those failures. One of the things that we will be working on, it's not in the immediate short term, but it's probably going to be in our next webcast, is exception handling. So first-class exception handling in the designer, so you get that experience and not have to go to the code view to make that happen.
Only other question is on Event Hub. When does it go live? Is it rolling out?
It's rolling out now. So
right now.
If you're in the right region, you might find it.
They couldn't hear me. So what was the question?
So the question was, when is Event Hub rolling out? So Event Hub has started rolling out now, so it's already available in some of the regions, and probably by Monday, it'll be in all regions.
Yeah.
So you should see it there.
Great. That's it.
Excellent. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next month.
All right. Thanks.